You're Up and Adam.
Tractor systems are offline.
We are Beyond FM.
Beyond FM.
The future of broadcasting is here.
Up and Adam with Adam Montiel.
It's community content from Concentrate. It's Up and Adam with Adam Montiel.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Yes, some say life is just where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again.
Happy Thursday, and thank you very, very much for being Up and Adam. Appreciate you connecting here today. Coming up, acclaimed biographer, award-winning author Martha Ackmann, whose work has appeared in New York Times, Washington Post, The Atlantic, and more, spent years studying Dolly Parton. Not just the music or the fame, but the woman who built one of the most recognizable identities in American culture and somehow never seemed to lose herself inside of it. Well, now with Dolly gone as of a day ago at 80, that story lands a lot differently. We talk about the parts of Dolly that the public never quite got, why being underestimated may have been one of her greatest advantages, and what happens when a life this big suddenly stops being current events and kind of starts becoming history. Martha Ackmann, author of Ain't Nobody's Fool, coming up in just a few minutes here on Up and Adam. All right, weather in all over SoCal, the Central Coast, it's doing a little bit of everything today. Listen to this. We woke up to scattered showers. It felt weird. Remember I was talking yesterday, like that earthquake weather, but it was like that, but with like dark cover and then rain, right? There were even some thunderstorms, some lightning strikes around the region. I didn't know that. I didn't see that. And while the storms are moving quickly and most of the rain is pretty light, the lightning is the part to watch. With everything so dry right now, even a single strike could start a fire. And then there's the heat, because apparently rain doesn't mean cool. We're still looking at widespread like mid 90s today, triple digits again in some of the interior communities, North County. Heat watches, warnings, advisories remain in effect through Friday, along with a fire warning for parts of the region. And now here's the fun part. By this evening, clouds expected to clear, just in time for a lunar eclipse. That's pretty cool. The eclipse peaks here on the West Coast at about 9:13 tonight. Conditions should actually be pretty good for seeing it, so fingers crossed. Then starting Friday, things really begin to calm down. Rain moves out. Temperatures start dropping a few degrees each day. Thank God. And by next week, we might be actually running cooler than normal. And that's something. What a back and forth year, from starting in March and it being like super hot to then getting super cold. It's wild. Unbelievable. So today's forecast is thunder, lightning, triple digit heat, fire danger, and lunar eclipse. Thursday apparently booked the whole venue. It's crazy. All right. Let's get into our chat with Martha Ackmann. She was the one I was talking about yesterday. I was trying to nail down this interview as we just lost someone huge like Dolly Parton. And you kind of understand the cultural thread that they have weaved over the years of their existence when they're gone, and just how many different types of people, are talking about them. First, I want to talk about our friends, the Mountain Air. Love what they're about. They're on Marsh Street, helping generations of locals get outside and touch grass, hiking, camping, climbing, all of it. Started by Wayne Wilson back in 1975, still running strong thanks to Josh and Lindsay Herring. Just a fantastic couple, family, neighbors doing it right here. And when you go into the store, you feel it. It's not overwhelming. It's not transactional. It's just dialed. Also, a couple doors down, their sister shop, The Switchback. Check that out. Buy and sell used gear so your stuff gets another run. Someone else gets their shot. And what I love about these guys, talk about keeping it local. Thank them for not just keeping it local with who they serve, but really for keeping it local with the dollars that they earn too. I mean, they're supporting new media, local broadcasting. It's incredible. I love these guys. TheMountainAir.com. Find them online. Also, theswitchback.com. Check them out on Marsh Street and let them know you heard them on Up and Adam. The Mountain Air, San Luis Obispo.
It's Up and Adam with Adam Montiel.
Acclaimed biographer, award-winning author Martha Ackmann has built a career telling stories of American women who pushed past expectation, broke barriers, and changed the culture around them. Her work has appeared in the New York Times, Washington Post, The Atlantic, and more. Her latest book, Ain't Nobody's Fool: The Life and Times of Dolly Parton, takes on a woman who may have understood herself, her image, her ambition better than almost anyone in public life. With Dolly's death at 80 just a day ago, this conversation is taken on a very different weight. And Martha joins us to talk about the woman behind that icon, parts of her story that were never as simple as they look, and what becomes clear when a life this big suddenly becomes legacy. Martha, really means a lot that you're here. Thanks for being Up and Adam.
Oh, thank you. Good to be here.
So there's almost something surreal about this. You spent years studying a life while it was still being lived. You wrote an epilogue, but Dolly still had, each day. She still had tomorrow. And then suddenly she doesn't. When you heard that Dolly died, I mean, you spent years studying her in motion. When she suddenly was no longer here, what about her came into focus differently for you?
Well, I guess the long view, the view of the life that came to an end. It's such a great loss. And while I didn't find her passing entirely surprising, I knew that she had had health struggles over the last years, and it seemed like it was getting pretty dire. But when you look back, I'm struck both by the breadth of her career, 65 years of being in the public eye. She came into our consciousness when she was practically a teenager. The many ways in which she constantly transformed her life, from country star to pop to movies, philanthropy. Such an incredible businesswoman. She was so talented. Dolly said that she woke up with a new idea in her head every single day and still had more that she wanted to do.
Did her death change the meaning to you of anything that you've written?
No, I don't think so. It did make me think about what is her, in my judgment, what is her most lasting impact. And I think beyond the movies, beyond Dollywood, even beyond the generosity and philanthropy, I think it's her model as a decent human being that is at the core of who she is. It's that authenticity. It's that optimism. Was her abundant sense of humor. I think Dolly changed the temperature of the room. She made things warmer. She made things kinder. She made things more decent. I think that is what I think is at the core for me of who she was.
One thing you've said about studying Dolly fascinates me. She was extraordinary with the press. Like, she could charm an interviewer, give you something wonderful, and still decide exactly how much Dolly Parton you were ever really going to get. And you wrote a biography about, this woman who spent 6 decades telling us who she was. After all your research, what part of Dolly do you think that she successfully kept for herself?
That's a very, very good point. Boy, she was deft at interviews. As you said, she could charm anyone. I listened to, hundreds, maybe thousands of her interviews. And what struck me is that although she was so entertaining and so charming, she didn't tell you much,
Yeah.
And I think that's a very important point. When she was just beginning to start out, her mother told her, always keep something for yourself. Don't give it all away. There are some things that are private. There are some things that are sacred and are not to be commodified and trotted out into the public. And Dolly took that to heart. And so there's a lot that we will never know about Dolly Parton. And I've got to say that as a biographer, that frustrates me, because you want to know everything. But as a human being, I found it commendable. I respected her for that a great deal.
And she wrote, thousands of songs, but she also constructed like one of the most recognizable public identities in American culture, like the hair, the clothes, the humor, the accent, the self-deprecation. And somehow the bigger like the character became, the more authentic she still seemed. Do you think Dolly Parton's greatest piece of songwriting was Dolly Parton?
I think so. You know, she was so self-conscious about that construct. And by that, I mean, she consciously put it together. And initially, it was her idea of glamour. But then the looking one way and being another, looking fake, but being authentic. One historian I talked to said that construct is Dolly's superpower. And she knew it. It gave her something to work against. She was able to win over people because they assumed one thing, and boy, she was going to deliver something else.
Yeah, we love the American story that goes like dirt poor to superstar because it gives us a clean, little fairy tale. But your book doesn't treat, the Smokies as something Dolly escaped. They seem to remain the well she keeps kind of drawing from. How do people misunderstand Dolly when we say that she escaped poverty? Did she actually carry that mountain home with her, or somehow make the whole world come visit?
She she carried that home with her. That home was her. You might remember, some of your listeners might remember a famous interview she did with Barbara Walters in the 80s, when Barbara Walters, in a pretty haughty way, said, "Would people like me," meaning New York sophisticates, "regard people like you as a hillbilly?" And Dolly kind of squared her shoulders, and there was a little twinkle in her eye, and she leveled Barbara. I don't mean she yelled at her or anything like that, but she, in no uncertain terms, talked about the dignity of people from East Tennessee, the respect she had for the people she grew up with and the values she grew up with. And she was so deft at that. I don't think Barbara Walters knew what hit her.
Dolly, where I come from, would I have called you a hillbilly?
If you had of, it would have been something very natural, but I would have probably kicked your shins or something. No, actually.
When I think of hillbillies, am I thinking of your kind of people?
I think you probably are. The people that grew up where I was were the ones that you would consider the little Abner people, Daisy Mae and that sort of thing. They took that kind of thing from people like us, but we were very proud people with a lot of class. It was country class, but it was a great deal of class. And most of my people were not that educated, but they are very, very intelligent. Good common sense, horse sense, we called it.
Dolly, did you look like this when you were a kid?
Not quite.
I mean, you didn't have
horse sense. I love that. Wow, so that's going viral right now because of everything going on, for obvious reasons. That's such a strong woman, huh? We usually tell the Dolly story as though everybody eventually recognized the genius that was that. Your book was much messier. Nashville resistance, professional battles, threats, lawsuits, like physical collapse, depression. There was a lot going on there. What did Dolly Parton have to lose in order to become the woman the world is now remembering?
Well, she had to stick to her guns. She had to know who she was. A lot of people don't realize that in the late 1990s, her record label dropped her. Young guns were coming up, Reba McEntire, Shania Twain, and Dolly was old school, and she lost her record company. And so she had to reinvent herself. And thank goodness for the brilliance of Steve Buckingham, a producer, who began talking to Dolly, and then those just stunning bluegrass albums came out. The Grass is Blue. And that was a return to her roots, a return to mountain music. And the lesson there is she went home. She went to that wellspring of the Smoky Mountains that you talk about. And what an achievement those albums were.
Wow. Something happens after that finality and after that final chapter, and that's just like the world doesn't really is like only learning that they're kind of fully understanding about just how great the person, really was. And I love that everyone's feeling just so loving and reflective on what kind of human she was. It's just so cool. I can't thank you enough for the time, Martha, and the wonderful work you did and taking the time to chat for a few minutes. It means a lot.
Oh, thank you. This was a pleasure. I really appreciate it.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again.
Martha, thanks a bunch for being here. The book, Ain't Nobody's Fool, The Life and Times of Dolly Parton. And in a week like this, feels like a biography and more like a place to go back and understand her a little better, Shit, the book is really, it's real, It wasn't authorized at the time. I'm not saying it is now at this time, but when she wrote it, she wrote it on her own. It wasn't like with Dolly or, so... links to pick up the book, all in the show notes. You can check out everything there. Martha Ackmann, thank you very much for sharing Dolly with us and that mutual respect for, she has a definite deference for Dolly. You can tell. All right. Thanks to our friends Benny's Pizza. What do you say? Some happy hour today, 4:30 to 6:30 every day, Monday through Friday. They got some great deals on beer, $3.50 domestic cans, $2 off premium beer and wine, food specials that hit the spot for those 2 hours every single day. And you walk in there, it just feels like Cheers. You can call them up, order up, 439-3838. Benny's Pizza, 1601 Monterey Street. They're on Upper Monterey, downtown SLO. Check them out. Let them know you heard them on Up+Adam. We love Benny's Pizza. All right. You heard that weather. Weird weather today. Lunar eclipse tonight. Best timing. The weather should agree with us. It should be agreeable. As far as being clear, 9:13 tonight, they say. 9:13 tonight. And lunar eclipse, I think you just go up and look at it. I don't really know what we're looking for. Let's look that up. What? Is it that dynamic of a thing to see? I think it'd kind of be cool to check it out, but the ring of fire. Oh, I get it. Okay, so you can see the whole, that is kind of cool. That is kind of cool. You see the ring of the sun if you're perfectly placed. Let's look for the best place. Best place for tonight's lunar eclipse. Elevated inland spots with an open view to the east that avoid coastal marine layers and city light pollution. Boom. There you go. Figure it out. Get there. Lunar eclipse tonight. And that is kind of cool. You look up and if you see it right, it looks like this little sizzle around the black moon. That's pretty dope. All right. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks to Moonshiner Collective for original music on the show called Start Again. Stream them wherever you get your music, also moonshinercollective.com. This show, of course, baby, yeah. I recorded at my SloCal studios in the heart of San Luis Obispo County, California. SloCal, where the wine is world class, the people are real, and life is too beautiful to rush. Returns well taken. Visit slocal.com. It's SLOCAL, slocal.com. Have a great day. Thank you so much for connecting. Tomorrow, it's Friday. I also have that great main story, a story that I have had to wait. I haven't wanted to wait. I have had to wait all week to tell you. We'll do it tomorrow. Also, Robin Coleman from What's It'll Be Friday. Till then, I'm Adam Montiel. Thank you for being Up and Adam.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again. Let's start again. We'll start again. Let's start again.